Hello everyone, we have a screen-o-matic video here about the stock game. The stock game is a significant part of the evaluation for the class, so I want to try to give a little bit of background about what you're doing and a little bit of information about what the stock game is and show you what it kind of looks like. Right? Stock game represents 30% of the overall course grade, so a significant part of the course. Right? Couple of things that you're going to be turning in for the stock game. Early in the stock game, you're going to be turning in a table of what your initial portfolio is, which is going to be it's going to have the names of each of the companies that make up your portfolio, the stock symbols, the number of shares that you purchased, the price per share when you bought the stock, the total amount invested in the company, and then a grand total, as well as notes about why you picked the companies that you chose. Right? So if I go down a little bit, and then finally at the end of the term, you're going to be turning in a final project as well. So I've given you some information in the syllabus here. The stock game is going to be available to you starting March 1st. You're going to need to make your initial purchases by Wednesday of the second week of the class. And the official end of the stock game is May 14th, though you can actually choose to make your end a little bit sooner than that if you want to get the stock game done. The end is basically kind of coincides with the end of the term. Right? You are investing only in publicly traded common stock of publicly traded companies. Minimum price is going to be $1 per share. I don't believe the stock game will actually allow you to make fractional purchases, though you can purchase odd lots, for example. You don't have to purchase in multiples of 100 shares or anything. You can purchase one share, something like that. No mutual funds, no exchange traded stocks, no bonds, no composite indexes, just common stock of publicly traded companies, right? Now, you're not allowed to buy on margin, or you're not allowed to sell short either. It's just basically simple buying and selling, right? You need to invest the full $100,000. That would be within $1,000 of that in cash. So somewhere between $99,000 and $100,000 needs to be invested by the second Wednesday of the class, right? I can't help you a whole lot in the stock game. I'm just an observer. I don't have any ability to make any changes or see anything any differently than what you see. There's no help desk or anything, so it's basically a trial and error type of a thing. Usually students are able to get in okay and not have too much trouble on it. Right? Note that when you make your purchases, they probably won't show up in your portfolio until the following day. Right? So you should purchase 4 to 6 stocks in 4 to 6 different companies in different industries as your initial portfolio. You're going to need, again, to include in week number 2 some kind of a table that I mentioned earlier, as well as notes about why you chose the companies that you chose. Now, it might be that you've had a hint that, a stock is a good investment. That's a valid reason for investing. It might be that you like the company's products. You think they're really, really well made. You think the company's well positioned to continue to do well. All right. I can't help you pick the stocks that you're picking. You're not going to be graded on how well the stocks actually do, but rather you're going to be graded on how well you monitor how the stocks do, how well you compare them versus the broader market and your peers, and then how good of notes that you keep and analyze what factors affected the value of the stock themselves. Right. So again, you need to keep track, you need to keep notes. So this is why you're only doing 4 to 6 different companies. But again, they need to be in different industries, so you're somewhat of a diversified portfolio about how the stocks did over the course of the term, why they perform the way they do, why you chose to hold the stocks or sell them. I suggest that you make a couple of trades during the term. You don't have to make any trades if you don't want to. If you make trades, you basically sell stocks, and then you need to reinvest that money within a few days afterwards. So again, you're not keeping more than that $1,000 worth of cash on hand. In your final project, you're going to need to compare how your company did, how your companies and your portfolio did perform from week to week. Why you chose the stocks that you purchased, why you made the trades that you did, how your stock portfolio did over the course of the term, and compare that versus your peers and also versus one of the broader market indices. Right? Some of the broader market indices, one might be the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Let me just mention what the Dow Jones Industrial Average is. It's 30 companies, as chosen by the Dow Jones Company. They're considered to be representative of the market of a whole. Originally, it was set up as one share each of those companies. So regardless of whether the company had 500 shares or 10,000 shares or what the total market value of the company was, a change, it was the index value was based on the price of one share of each of these 30 companies, right? The S&P 500, some people consider to be more representative of the economy because one, instead of being only 30 companies, it's 500 companies as chosen by the S&P 500. And generally, it's mostly the 500 largest companies in the United States. However, the S&P 500 has chosen to exclude, for example, a company like Berkshire Hathaway, even though it's one of the largest in the United States, because it's never split. Its shares are very, very expensive, like well over $100,000 per share. It's never paid a stock dividend. So that makes the company's stock not widely traded, because how many people can afford to be buying shares at $150,000, $200,000 per share? Right? And the S&P 500 is also what we call market weighted. So it's based on the total market value, not the price of one share, but the total market value of the shares of the individual companies that make up the S&P 500. Right? You're going to need to include in your final project some kind of charts and graphs that compare your company's, your portfolio stocks from week to week, and then something that compares them versus one of the broader indexes, and also you should compare against your peers as well. Now, any charts and graphs, tables that you make up, that you include, these should be things that you make up yourself. I don't want any kind of tables copied and pasted from, for example, MarketWatch. That will give you no credit and will actually result in reduction of your grade. Right? Again, you need to be keeping track of what factors internally and externally are affecting the market prices of your stock. So, for example, if interest rates go up, your stock prices might go down. All the broader market prices probably going to go down. Those are an example of an external factor. An internal factor might be that the company is being sued by an employee or by customers for harassment, or from poor product performance or product liability, something like that. Or the company might have announce a brand new product, a new vaccine or something that causes the stock to go, astronomical in terms of values. Right? You're not going to be graded on how well your portfolio performs, but rather how well you analyze the performance, how well you compare your company stock versus the broader market versus your peers. Now, why are you comparing it versus a broader market? Because for example, if your portfolio is down 3% over the course of the term, that sounds pretty bad. But if the broader market is down 7% over the course of the term, then you've actually done pretty well. So you would be, if you have an investment manager and he's done only a 3% drop versus the broader market of 7%, he might still get, for example, a bonus, even though he did not actually increase the value of the company's portfolios. Right? I suggest that your project should be somewhere in the vicinity of 8 to 12 pages. That's just a benchmark, nothing. It could be 6 pages, it could be 14 pages, but something probably not 50 pages. It should be double-spaced, well-written, charts and graphs included in there. All right. So I do want to bring up the stock game for you, kind of show you what you're going to see in the stock game. When you go and click on the link, you're going to have to register into the stock game, and you're going to see that your initial allocation is going to be $100,000. So in order for you to make any kind of trades, you're going to be typing in a symbol. So you're going to want to find out what the company name is or symbol is. So I'm going to type in PG, which is a symbol for Procter & Gamble. And it brings up a number of different stocks that start with the PG symbol. I'm going to pick Procter & Gamble. And if I want to buy it, it's right now at $137.52. If I hit trade, it's going to bring up a screen for me for trade. And right now it starts at 1 share. Now I can slide this graph over and I can buy any amount of shares that I want to, though I don't seem to be able to make this fractional shares. Right? Now, what you'll also notice is that as I slide the graph over, it also changes the portfolio allocation. So a lot of people, for example, want to buy 4 stocks maybe and make them all around 25%. So they're going to pick something that looks like approximately a quarter of the shares to start with, a quarter of the stock value to start, a quarter of the $100,000 to start with, and they might pick that in the first day, and then they might find out that they had and they don't want to go over that $100,000. I don't know if the market game is going to actually give you an error or tell you if you're over $100,000. You're going to have to kind of look at that. And then once you decide you're going to make the stock pick, you're going to actually hit the submit order. All right, so I hope that's helpful to you. Now, I also require that you compare your portfolio versus your peers. You're going to see that in the stock game, and I'm also going to post that on the website probably on a weekly basis at the end of every single week, but also versus the broader market index. So how did the S&P 500 do, for example? So maybe at the end of the term, you're going to type in up into Google, you're going to type in S&P 500 graph, and it's going to bring you up a graph of the S&P 500, right? And you can change you can see the performance for 1 day, for 5 days, for 1 month, for 6 months. And let's say the start of the term was January 1st of 2020. I'm going to do 1 year. And if I slide my graph over, it's going to tell me December 31st, the close of business, the value of the S&P 500 was $3,230.78. And at the end of the term, was say, or the end of the year, the day that you actually closed out your portfolio is March 24th. Then the value on that day was $2,447.33. So similarly, you can do something for the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the Wilshire indexes, the Russell 5000 as well. Those are broader market indexes as well. More common are people comparing like the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. All right. I hope that's helpful to you. So again, you're going to have 2 components as far as what you're turning in. The week number 2, I believe it is, you're going to turn in your initial portfolio. Basically a table that shows your initial portfolio allocation, shows that you invested something like $99,000 to $100,000 and why you chose the stocks that you did. And finally, near the end of the course, you're going to be turning in your final project. Right? Now, I just want to mention here as far as your final project due date. So if I go down to the due dates of items, when we get into week number 11, note that the final stock project is not due on a Sunday, but is due on Saturday, May 15th of 2021. All right. I hope this was helpful to everybody, and if you have any questions, please be sure to email them to me. Note that I will not, and this is emailed from your Franklin Pierce email account to my Franklin Pierce email account, not using Canvas Inbox. All right, I will use Canvas Inbox for mass communications to the entire group, but I won't be answering Canvas communications from individual students. All right, thank you so much for listening, and I hope this was helpful to you.